Hey, this is Joe from Home Studio Corner, and this is the aftermath of a recent recording session with my band. I mentioned in a recent video that we had recorded kind of the basic tracks a few weeks ago. We got together on a Tuesday evening to do more production, to record guitars, vocals, things like that. There was pizza and drinks involved. A good time was had by all, and had a couple of interesting lessons come as a result of that evening. So we're sitting there, and for the most part, we're recording guitars and keyboard parts. So most of it is me playing my guitar, dialing in tones, getting ideas from them of what parts to play, what like delays and things to maybe have on the guitars, and then what notes to play sometimes, and we're all collaborating, and I end up playing the parts and recording them in. We get a couple of hours in, and things are sounding really cool, but we don't have a vocal yet on any of the songs. We just haven't recorded it. So I grabbed a microphone and just proceeded to record. But instead of like grabbing headphones and handing out headphones to the guys, which would have just taken more time, I just, for whatever reason, I just started singing. I turned up the fader on that microphone so I could hear it coming out of the speakers. I could hear the tracks coming out of the speakers, and I just sang the parts. And there were a couple of times where I sang extra background parts, added in some reverbs and delays and stuff to create these really cool vibes, all while just singing into a microphone with the speakers blasting. Now, I want to play that for you real quick, and then I've got a couple of lessons that come out of this. So here's one of the songs, and you can hear, let me just play you a clip. This is like a bridge section of one of the songs here. Now, if I soloed these vocals, you'll hear there's all kinds of bleed. Yes, you can hear the drums. They're blasting out of the speakers, getting picked up by the microphone because I'm just sitting right here singing, having fun. And that leads me to my first point. We may keep these tracks as the final tracks, or at least some of them, because they sound cool and because I use the right tool for the job. So most of the time when I'm sitting here doing vocals, doing videos, I use this microphone here or some other kind of large diaphragm condenser mic. It sounds good. I can be, 6 to 8 inches off the microphone and it picks me up well, so I'm not having to eat the mic all the time, which just gets old after a while, especially if I'm just talking to you. However, as we were listening down, I unplugged this microphone and I plugged this one in. This is a beat-up PD70 from PreSonus. It's like a $130 mic, somewhere in that range, and it's a dynamic microphone, which means it's not as sensitive. It doesn't pick up as much, especially in the higher frequencies. It also doesn't have as much of a reach. Also, I can get right up on the microphone for singing because of the pop filter here and the distance to the actual element. It gets me really close to the mic, which aids in rejecting other sounds as well. So if I had done this same exercise just singing on this microphone where I am right now, you would hear so much of the drum bleed, we really would have to replace everything. But because I chose a dynamic microphone and I sang right here, right up on the mic, which I'm fine with eating the microphone for small amounts of time, we ended up with something that doesn't have tons of bleed. Listen to the lead vocal here again. You can hear there's some bleed, but it's not nearly as bad as I thought. I mean, it's back there in the background, but you certainly aren't going to hear it once all the other instruments are in. So that's my first point. Use the right tool for the job. So for me, a dynamic microphone in that specific scenario made sense. And it just was a matter of unplugging one and plugging in the other and going to town and having fun. Another example would be if you've got a part that calls for a chimey Stratocaster sound on the guitar, go ahead and reach for the single coil guitar rather than like a 335 that's just never, no matter how you tweak it, it's not going to give you that sound. Choose the right tool for the job and it makes it a lot more fun and a lot more usable after the fact. The next big lesson, forget about perfection. Perfection is the enemy when it comes to making music. Tell you a story. When I was in college, I was learning audio, and one of the big things I learned in one class part of it was to learn how to edit drums. So we would get all these multi-tracks for these country drum sessions, and the professor would teach us how to group everything, chop it up, and slide things around using beat detective and time stretching and all those different things to get the drums locked into the grid really tightly. And I got really excited because it was kind of fun to do. One of those things you could literally spend hours messing with. And I would record a drum kit, then I would go lock myself in a studio or in my home studio for hours with headphones on, going through beat by beat, slicing, moving, nudging, crossfading, moving on. And I would do that for like a single song. I might do that for 4 or 5 hours. Just on a single song. Like 2 hours have passed and I've made it to the chorus, right? Just obsessive to the nth degree, which is kind of in my personality. I should have seen this coming. And then what happens? I get done with the full edit. I go to the beginning, I hit play, and it sounds terrible. Like, it's technically good, right? The edits, I did the edits right. It was just they didn't need to be that perfect. Perfect sucks for the most part. Good enough is actually the goal. So the goal isn't to just let bad stuff through. The goal isn't bad, but the goal also isn't perfection. The goal is good. And I feel like I'm learning this afresh with these songs that I'm recording with Tim and Joel, because nothing, there aren't perfections in there. We'll go and fix a few things here and there, but for the most part, it's kind of, we're capturing a moment. Like there's this one song we recorded where I just went nuts on the guitar, Tim went nuts on the drums, Joel went nuts on the bass. We're just jamming out at the end, and I have a few kind of missed notes. I kind of went for a note and wasn't quite there, and I always thought I'll go back and re-record it, but I don't think I'm going to, because we captured a really special moment in the room with the three of us just rocking out, and I want to keep that. And that makes it imperfect. That makes it less than perfect. And I'm okay with that. I almost like that even more. Now, maybe you hear this and you say, maybe you nod your head and agree, or maybe you think, no, Joe, I'm going to make mine perfect. Please don't. I got an email from somebody once years ago asking me to listen to their song and offer critique. So I don't have a lot of time for that kind of stuff lately, but at the time I did. So I said, sure. I listened. It was this instrumental with some piano. It was really simple. Like, it was piano, maybe some like orchestral sounds, maybe drums and bass, but it was just a simple instrumental piece with a pretty simple melody. And so my reply back was, I like this and this about it. I like the piano sound, but overall it's kind of a boring piece. There's not a lot happening rhythmically or even melodically to make it like interesting and to like hook my attention and to give me something to remember and to hum later after I've listened. It's kind of forgettable. The person asked me for a critique. They didn't say, listen, isn't it great? They said, can you offer feedback? I'm guessing what they wanted was for me to say, this is amazing. But I didn't. I said, this is kind of boring. And the person comes back and says, no, this is perfect. This is a perfect piece of music. Why can't you understand that? And I just said, okay, dude, whatever you say. Like, why would you send something for feedback and then come back and say, no, it's perfect? Anyway, if it was perfect, perhaps it is. Perhaps it is categorically, measurably, quantifiably perfect. It was boring. I would rather listen to imperfect stuff that interests me than a perfect piece of music that bores me to tears. Maybe you can relate. How do you see yourself leaning into perfectionism in the work that you do? Do you spend too long on mixing? Does it take you forever to get through the process, or does the process never end? If that's the case, I want to show you how you can cut your mixing time in half. Here's what you do. Go to 5stepmix.com, download the free 5-step mix guide, give me 15 minutes to read through it. And if you just apply one of the 5 steps, you'll see a dramatic improvement to your mixes. I promise. Okay? Head over to 5stepmix.com to get your copy. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.